Hi, I'm Rick Bennett, host of Gospel Tangents. I need your help. Please donate on our website, gospeltangents.com, and click on the donate button. It can be a one-time donation or a recurring donation. Your donation will help us to create better resources to learn more about Mormon history. So far it's been a labor of love, but I really need some help getting better equipment, better sound, that sort of thing. So please either commit to a recurring donation or a one-time donation. We'll take any help we can get. Thank you for your help. We started this conversation by talking about the paternity of Josephine Lyon. It turns out that Dr. Ugo Perego is also testing other potential children of Joseph Smith. We'll talk about the historical relationship between Orson Hyde, Joseph Smith, and Marinda Johnson. Check out our conversation.
Yesterday we're doing another Joseph Smith child through Marinda Johnson, who was married to Orson Hyde but still to Joseph Smith.
Yes.
And that's what we're testing right now.
Oh, you're testing that now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We sent the testing yesterday.
So is there a potential child?
Yeah.
Oh, I did
Absolutely.
not know that.
There are two actually that have been historically linked to possibly being Joseph Smith. And one died in his infancy, so we'll never know, because we don't even know where is he buried. But there is another one that grew up as an adult and has a posterity. And so we're looking at a Hyde, last name Hyde, descendant of Orson Hyde, that was born between Orson Hyde and Marinda Johnson. Miranda Johnson or Marinda?
Miranda.
Marinda Johnson.
Yeah.
Marinda Johnson. And but because of the birth time and the association between Marinda Johnson and Joseph Smith, there is a chance that it could have been Joseph Smith as well. So I'm looking at that, and we send that. That's a Y chromosome test, and we did it with this company, and the basic test is $169. So it's only $70 more than autosomal.
I got lucky. I had a friend who worked for Ancestry. She got me a really good deal. But.
Yeah, they do. I pay even like $50 for the Ancestry test, and I pay $100 for the family tree DNA, $120. There are discounts, special. During Father's Day, they have the Y chromosome discount. I mean, all those marketing moves. But the tests are really good. They're solid. They're robust. They use they use equipment that is used for forensic or population study at the university level or government agency. It's the same thing. They just pack it and sell it to you for a different purpose, but the technology is all the same across. It's very easy for us to use that service. It's actually a lot less inexpensive. It's less expensive to go through with a commercial company nowadays, because they buy the equipment, they have the people. Like in my case, I had to go to a university, ask them to do something which is not their routine. There is a risk that somebody might misplace the sample because they don't know how to track them down. For special projects. Instead, these guys, that's all they do. The tracking, the collection, it's all streamlined. So much better. So $169, and at that time
I'll have to get Ancestry and Family Tree to become a sponsor.
Yeah. So Family Tree DNA is definitely the place to go for Y chromosome testing, and so question was Joseph Smith Ancestry, and then people came across. Start contact me and say, well, I heard you're doing some DNA on Joseph Smith. I was going through a lot of Smith family reunion at that time with my collection of kids, and collecting DNA samples, and so the words got out pretty quick in those circles that I was looking at Joseph Smith DNA. All right, that's even before anything was published, anything was presented at any conference, and so I had a descendant of Moroni Pratt that first contacted me. It's been a number of years ago, but I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing when the phone call came, and this man says, I'm a descendant of Moroni Pratt, and Moroni is recorded as Parley P. Pratt's son, and I can't remember now the name of the Marianne Frost, who was the second wife of Parley P. Pratt. And he was born December 1844, Moroni Pratt, which placed him 9 months within the death of Joseph Smith. And Marianne Frost was sealed to Joseph Smith, was never sealed to Parley. In fact, Marianne Frost is recorded as one of the first females, if not the first group, that received the temple ordinances in the red brick house, the red brick store level. She was there when Joseph Smith introduced the first temple endowment, and then eventually she was sealed to Joseph, and children were born. And the first one, Moroni, was linked to Joseph Smith as a possibility. I think even Von Brody mentions that as a possibility in her book. And so I already had Joseph Smith Y chromosome because of his other study. Now I need to have the Pratt Y chromosome. So I test the descendants of Moroni, and then I test other children of Parley P. Pratt born after Joseph Smith died, so that it wouldn't be him. And in the meantime, we also have some Orson Pratt descendants as well, which I throw in as well, because it will be it's the Y chromosome, so it kind of is the same for the Pratts that share the same ancestry. And so we find out that Moroni Pratt was not Joseph Smith's son because the Y chromosome was different, and that he matched all the other Pratts, so that he was indeed Parley P. Pratt. So now there are some theological implications of why is that. You know, what would happen. I found a document while I was researching while I was doing this project, that had Parley P. Pratt's statement that every child that he would have with Marianne would be Joseph in the eternity. Are you with me? So every child he would have with Marianne Frost would have been Joseph in the eternity. Sounds to me very much like the Levirate marriage, where the man dies, his wife is still alive. Now, we're talking about spiritual wife here because we're talking about celestial marriage, and the next kin, which will be brother Pratt, brother to Joseph, right? In spiritually, is raising a posterity in the eternity for Joseph.
Well, that's a very interesting interpretation, because
that's what he said. That's what Parley said, and it's not my word. That's what
Parley said that.
Parley said that.
So, let me make sure I'm clear on the thing. So you said that Frost, what was her first name?
Marianne Frost.
Marianne Frost was sealed
to Joseph.
But that was after.
Married to Parley.
Was she married to Parley before she was sealed to Joseph?
Yes.
That just seems so strange. Okay, but
so she was married to Parley for time, but to Joseph for eternity.
See, I think most people would be so surprised to hear that they would have a polygamous marriage that would be not for eternity. I mean, when you read D&C 132, that's what it seems like. And so it seems so
We still
strange.
don't know a lot of things about it. So, if you're very negative about the whole thing, you're always going to look for the dirtiest reasons why there were these things, polyandry, promiscuity,
Well, and
sexual interest, control over women, whatever you want to, bring it up. But if you are more on the, let's see, if, they're really trying to establish some sort of celestial order on the earth. Who are we? We're all children of Heavenly Father, right? And it doesn't kind of almost matter how we are connected, as long as we're all connected to Him at the end, right? More of a sort of I believe, maybe I'm totally off, I'm not a polygamy expert. No, I'm not polygamist, but not polygamy expert. But it seems to me that up to Wilford Woodruff time, polygamy and temple sealing was viewed more as a universal, horizontal type of family relationship, all connected to one father, right? So at the end, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have the temple ordinances and as long as you're sealed to somebody, you're sealed to God, okay? Then after Wilford Woodruff, it seems to me that he went more on a vertical line where you have to do more of genealogy, sealing fathers to children, and grandparents to grandchildren, right? And everybody has to be sealed to their husband and wife and to no one else, you know. Remember, they were Mormon, they were keep getting sealed to dead prophets up to Wilford Woodruff, right? And it was okay up to that time. It's just like, as long as I'm sealed, I'm safe, right? As long as I have an eternal husband, I'm good.
Yeah, it just seems so strange that. Anyway.
But I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah.
I
No, this is
you.
great because I think it was just last week I did I posted an episode with Brian Hales about polyandry, and one of the things that he said was he believed there was no sexual polyandry. In fact, he did mention Frost. I didn't realize the relationship to Parley P. Pratt, but
That's to some degree is polyandry.
yeah, but he said that Joseph never had sexual relations with any of his so-called polyandrous wives, of which there were 11 to 14.
And that's his historian conclusion. But that's Brian Hale's conclusion. No one really knows. No one really knows, you know. So, we have to wonder what was the nature of a woman being alive and having some sort of documented tied or union or marriage to more than one man. You know, we are trying to speculate and guess what was the nature and the practice and the involvement and the sexuality that surrounded this union. Was it the same? Was it different from husband to another husband? You know, we are left with wondering on these things. And besides, the fact that we don't have children of Joseph Smith from polygamous relationship does not tell us anything about his sexual interaction with this woman. We all know that you don't have a child every time you have intercourse, right? But it does bring up some interesting alternative answers when you see that there are absolutely no children. You know, while Brigham Young had no problem having children with all his wives, or Joseph F. Smith, you know, or anyone else. And so why not Joseph? Was he too persecuted, too busy? He had to act secretly, so he didn't have as many opportunities to. The stress level, you know, was high, and so I don't know, you know. But the point is that, and I can see why Brian and I actually, out of all the historians dealing with polygamy, I know Brian personally. I consider him a honest researcher, and I don't think he has all the answers, and I think that with regard to certain particular historical situation, he has his own bias and his own interpretation, but overall I think he's really trying to do the best that he can objectively. He researches all the original sources, he makes them available, he's trying to be very transparent, which is unusual. He has no vested interest in it. He's not a paid historian or making money out of what he's doing. I think a lot of it is just a labor of love, and very dedicated to this type of areas of Mormon history. So I appreciate what he does. He does a lot. He knows a lot more than a lot of us know about this. So he has to be taken as a valuable resource when it comes to study polygamy, particularly polygamy with regard to Joseph Smith. And so, he thinks probably there was no sexual relation with polyandry relationships. That's his conclusion. I don't know. What I'm saying is like, the fact that the only thing I can say, there are no children, and I can be very sure about what the genetic data said.
I hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Ugo Perego. He's doing such a good job, I thought I'd let him introduce our next conversation.
Is Josephine the biological daughter of Joseph Smith or not? The circumstantial evidence would say yes, she's totally. The confession, the affidavit. But there could also be other explanation. I just told you, the Parley P. Pratt spiritual children, these children are Joseph. When? In the eternity, right?
Click here to subscribe, click here for a transcript, and over here you'll see some other videos that we've done here on YouTube. We hope you'll use this as a valuable resource to learn more about Mormon history.